Welcome to the Brave Enough Show. I am so excited you're here. We have an amazing guest today. We are going to be talking all about stress and how stress really does play a huge role in our health, in our daily decisions, in our mindset, in our relationships. And again, I've said this every time, but this season is not about how to live without any stress, because I don't think that's possible. It's how to recognize the signs when stress is becoming something that's really unhealthy, and then also how to move into relationships, help relationships with yourself, work relationships, all of those things, and use stress as an advantage instead of something negative. So before we get to today, talking all about stress, I understand what it's like to be in a situation as a woman in medicine where you are so stressed that you actually are burned out, that it's past the point of just, okay, I'm anxious, I'm having problems sleeping too. I don't know how I'm going to get through my work day. I don't know how I'm going to get through my life at home. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have no joy. I'm totally burned out. I see people as objects. I'm very negative. All of those things can really signal that you're burned out, which is a serious thing if you're burned out as a woman. And it happens to many of us, especially women physicians and women in jobs that are so demanding and unpredictable and are trying to balance the things of their life. So I have created a class that I do once a year. I do it every March, April, May. It's a 12-week course. It's online. You give an hour of your life and you take it back. You literally take back your life hour by hour, week by week. It's so powerful that I've led hundreds of women through this class, and it's life saving, it's life changing. And I'm proud to say that because it's true. The testimonies are incredible. If you don't believe me, go to my website. It's called Brave Balance. It's going to kick off in March. You don't want to miss out. This is a CME course. We get CME through Stanford University School of Medicine, and it's really incredible. And it's you just get a safe environment, and it's a coaching class, but it's also more than that. It's really about a self-assessment of where you are. It's like taking your pulse and going, what is my well-being? Where am I at? Maybe you feel stuck in a job. Maybe you feel overwhelmed. Whatever it is, you want this course. You do not want to miss out, and you don't have to be anything to take this course. I get messages all the time that say, well, I'm not enough to take this course, or I'm not here, or my problems are too big, or nobody would understand, or it's just me, I'm the problem. If you're hearing those voices and limiting beliefs telling you not to take this class when you know you should, message me. Email info@becomebraveenough.com. We'll set up a quick phone call, and I will tell you if this course is right or not for you. And I will help you find you again. So go to becomebraveenough.com. Don't miss out. Don't wait. The class is filling up. And register now for Brave Balance. This course is made for women who have busy lives. Okay. So it's not like you have to do 100,000 modules and it's too much of a commitment. It's not that. I promise you. I want to see you there. Okay. Let's move on to our topic and guest today. Today we have Dr. Robyn Tiger. She is a double boarded certified physician and diagnostic radiologist, and also in lifestyle medicine. I love that. She's the founder of a physician wellness practice called Stress Free MD, and she's uniquely combines her training in medicine, yoga therapy, meditation, and really just talking about overall health of the physician. And she is just an awesome person. I've chatted with her before on podcasts. I've been on her podcast, and I just thought no one better than to come on this whole season about stress than Dr. Tiger. So I'm so excited to have her today. Let's get right into the show. Started. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tiger. Thank you so much for coming back and talking to us about all things stress related. And during the introduction, I went over how, you are just an expert in stress and an expert in lifestyle medicine and really using meditation and being aware of our bodies. And I know I've heard your story before, but I would love for you to kind of briefly tell our listeners how you got into this, like how you went from being a radiologist to lifestyle medicine and really helping physicians stay well.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's always an honor to chat with you and to be here and to share. And I like to say that I'm a burnout thriver who made my mess my message. And that was secondary to, wow, how many years has it been now? Probably about 15 years or so ago, where I started to notice that while I was practicing medicine with two amazing little kids and a great husband and wonderful home and all the things, that I started to develop lots of symptoms that I couldn't explain away. And I went to lots of docs and I got lots of medications and I had lots of imaging studies and lab tests, and nothing was helping, right? So all the labs, all the imaging was negative and the meds weren't helping. I had physical symptoms, I had emotional and mental symptoms, and they were just really compounding one on top of the other. And I was already exercising a lot. I was eating what I thought was really healthy. I thought I was living a pretty good life. And I was really scared. And I had three physician friends who had died from suicide. And I got really, really, really scared that, my goodness, here's the fork in the road. Am I actually heading down that way? Or, can I do something to change my situation? Because Western medicine is amazing, as you know, but sometimes it's not exactly what we need. And I started hearing about other things outside of medicine, traditional medicine, besides fitness, besides what then I thought was a healthy diet, such as yoga, such as meditation, later on coaching, and lifestyle medicine. And it was when I started dipping my big toe into other things that I started to feel better, and all my symptoms, all of them, actually went away. And that included paresthesias in my hands, migraine headaches, terrible pain in my body, and so on. And I came to understand that the diagnosis that no one made, except for me eventually, was that I was suffering from a whopping case of chronic stress, and that stress can show up in many, many different forms at many layers and levels in your body and your mind and so on, and show up in your life differently. And once I started to realize that, I began to hone in on the things that help me feel better and become certified in the things that were helping me, because that's what we are. We're lifelong learners. And then I started helping other people do the same.
Mhm. That's amazing. It's amazing that, you know, we're so trained in medicine. We do have all this education and we have all of this knowledge, but oftentimes we are suffering ourselves from things that we just pushed away, or we explain away, or we say is part of the job, or that just comes with the territory, or we just don't even have time to actually think about them. And I know I've done the same thing where I've had, times in my life where I feel really unwell, but I can't say, oh, it's this disease or it's this illness. So I just push it away and I just keep going because I can, right? Like we're so trained to just keep going, but at the expense often of something, big that either falls apart, either a broken relationship or our own health, or something with our kids or something with our family that really causes us to take inventory. And so I love that your story is one that I think a lot of people can really understand, because it happens. It's not like, oh, you had this huge life altering event. It's like a series of events. And I think that's what happens to so many doctors and physicians and professionals in all areas that have very stressful, high acuity jobs, that they just ignore all the symptoms of what's going on. So I want to dig into that a little bit. What do you hear? Because you do a lot of coaching and you do a lot of teaching on this. What do you think are some of the most common symptoms that people experience when they're stressed that they shouldn't ignore, but they do?
Yeah, great question. So symptoms come in different forms. We have physical symptoms, we have emotional symptoms, we have psychological symptoms, we have symptoms related to our spirit or our true self, our soul, whatever you want to call that amazing thing that's always inside of you but gets covered up, and it's who you really are. And it comes down to just taking a step back and recognizing that things change in your life. When are you not showing up as yourself 150%? And what is it that's holding you back? So, with physical symptoms, Of course, we're Western trained physicians. So if you're not digesting your food, if you have reflux, yeah, you want to seek out some help with from a gastroenterologist, first your internist, of course, and then maybe they may send you to someone else. If you're having these headaches, if you're having pain in your body, if you're not sleeping well, if you're waking up exhausted every day, if you can't keep your eyes open past noon, if you're reactive, if you are, saying things you wish you could take back, doing things that you wish you could reverse. When you
Mhm.
start recognizing that you don't even recognize who you are, and you've already sought out proper evaluation and you're not getting better, and these are the things that I frequently hear: I'm gaining weight, I don't know why. I'm drinking more than usual, I can't stop drinking. I'm internet shopping, I'm buying every color, every shirt that I find, you know scrolling for hours. I have one client that her escape was that she was reading trashy romance novels till 3 in the morning. I mean, whatever it is, if you are realizing that you are farther and farther away from yourself, that's when you got to take a step back and say, hey, something's going on here. And again, after you've been evaluated properly, like I was, if you're not getting better, then you need to look at the bigger picture. I think stress is the umbrella under which so much of this falls. And we go back to the medical literature. Stress is actually America's #1 health problem. And up to 90% of symptoms that individuals report to their primary care physician about are secondary to stress. And we
Mm.
start to realize that, we say, wow, I don't need a pill for every single thing. Let's just take a step back and say, why is this happening? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the why? And what I described are a lot of things that I hear, and it can go on and on. Relationships are falling apart, as you mentioned. Screaming at your kids, driving somewhere and forgetting how you got there,
Mhm.
forgetting a lot of things,
Yeah.
making mistakes,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
go on. So just, it's like you're not you. And then the thoughts, right, Sasha. So then the thoughts can be anything, just all the negative thoughts that happen, all the way to I don't really want to be here thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so those are all things that are like, hey, uh-oh, here's a red flag. Let me take a step back and see what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it's really important also that you mentioned, like, lots of people just have stress and it comes out in different ways. I read an article once, I don't remember the article, so I can't cite it, but I was presenting data on burnout for a meeting, and I read a really interesting article that said people who project their stress are often have more broken relationships, which makes sense, but you don't have as many physical ailments as people who don't project their stress. People who really repress their stress, they actually have more physical ailments like obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, where people who project their stress tend to maybe not have as many physical ailments, but they have a lot of broken relationships. They have a lot of interpersonal conflict. So it's not that one is better than the other, but people express their stress in very different ways. And sometimes, if you're a very outgoing person, you might project your stress. But if you're a very introverted person, you may hide your stress or repress your stress. And it doesn't mean that that person isn't at risk or that person isn't struggling. It just looks very different. And I think that's an important note because not everybody experiences stress or really displays it in their life in the same way. And I know, at least for my kids, I have introverted and extroverted kids, and some of those kids, man, I know when they're stressed, like I can see it. And other kids, it's like they just leave and try to, get away and withdraw. And that's kind of a red flag, like, oh, what's going on? And I think it's the same with people. So we obviously live in a very crazy world, and our world is, you turn on the news and it's just like you don't even want to watch the news because the world is quite frankly messed up. If I can, that's a nice way of saying it. And so it's really hard to, I think people just think, oh, this is living without stress, that's impossible, you can't do that, that we're short staffed, the economy is bad, blah blah blah. You can find hundreds of ways to be stressed in literally 2 minutes. Just turn on the news. What what do you say to someone who says, well, that's unrealistic to try to live well and to manage your stress. It's just impossible, because I know that, I'm sure you get clients to say that. I know I do. So what do you say to that person who says not possible to live in a world and not be under constant stress?
Yeah, well, it's not possible because stress actually shaves years off your life. And we know that stress is the direct cause of most, if not all, of the chronic diseases that we have. So not only do we feel horrible, um, diabetes, adult onset diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, stroke, cancer progression and growth, even prematurely shortening your telomeres, which determine how long you're going to live. So when someone says, I can't live, I'm like, you won't live. You're right. You can't live. So the truth is, actually, you're right. And then I usually get a what? Why is she agreeing with me? And I'm agreeing with you in a sense that it is actually hurting you. It's making you sick. It's killing you, and it's making your life shorter. So you can't live when this is on board. Um, what I like to talk about is that there are two things going on. So when we talk about what's going on in healthcare, for example, we have the healthcare system, which is broken, and then we have the human. Okay. Same thing as like what you were just describing, what's going on in the world. We have what's going on in the world, what's on the news, and then we have the human, us. And we would love to, but we really can't control the healthcare system. There are people working really, really hard to change things, but we can't really control that. We can't control what's going on in the world. We'd like to, but we really can't. But we can
Mhm.
control ourselves, the human. So when we actually create that division between circumstances that are happening in our lives and how we are feeling about those circumstances, it's incredibly empowering, and it puts you in the driver's seat of your health, your well-being, and the joy that you feel in your life. And so you can, in any given situation, use tools to decrease or reverse or eliminate the stress that you're feeling in any given moment. You just need to learn how. It doesn't mean that the healthcare system isn't broken. It doesn't mean that there aren't problems at work if you're not working in healthcare. It doesn't mean that there isn't absolutely horrific things going on in the world around you. But you can feel better, and you owe it to yourself to learn how to and to constantly bring yourself back to that place of calm in any given moment. You can do it. And
Mm.
you do it because you want to feel better. And you do it because ultimately it prevents and can reverse these symptoms, illnesses, and diseases that are caused by stress.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And I love the reframing and the taking back the power of what stress is doing to you. Because you're right, we can't control all the craziness that's going on around us, or the fact that we show up to work and suddenly we have more patients on our list, or someone called in sick, or we have emergencies. But we can control our reaction to them, and we can choose how we let it really affect us. I like to do grounding techniques, for myself. I work in an operating room clinically. When I'm working clinically, that can be extremely stressful. And I think, sadly, a lot of times how we react to stress just gets kind of ignored in medicine, and it gets normalized, like inappropriate reactions to stress. So one thing that has helped me is just to take a moment when I feel, for me, it feels very hot when I'm getting stressed. My neck starts getting hot. My heart rate increases. I start hearing the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears, right? And that tells me that I'm getting tachycardic and I'm getting stressed. And I know, for me, I just take a moment and I just go, okay, what do I hear? And what do I taste even? What do I see? And I just kind of do the grounding techniques just to get mindful in the moment and just take a deep breath, because there's not a lot that you have to react to in 5 seconds. I mean, most things you have a minute to react. So I think just taking a minute for myself and getting centered and not reacting and then worsening the stress in the room, or elevating the stress in the room, or slowing down my heart rate, like just taking like 4 or 5 deep breaths and just trying to slow my heart rate down and combat that initial reaction to stress is really powerful. What are some techniques in the moment that you can tell someone, like, say they're at work, they show up, they're supposed to be at a 5 o'clock soccer game, right? This is probably an everyday occurrence in every physician's life in America. They show up to work, they're supposed to be somewhere at 5 or 6 o'clock, and all of a sudden they have 5 add-ons. And now they're feeling the stress. How am I going to get here? How am I going to get my child from A to B? How am I going to say I can't do this? Who am I going to ask to help me? All of these things. What do you do? What are some techniques that you tell that person, like, in the moment when they feel the stress rising?
Yeah, great question. So I like to think about the tools that we use to relieve our stress being kind of like your medicine cabinet for an asthmatic. Okay, so we have our antihistamine, which is sort of, our maintenance drug, right? So we want things that we're going to be doing sort of all the time. And then we have our epi and our steroids, right? That we need to work right away. And my left brain likes to think about things in an organized fashion. And for the healthcare professionals out there, this makes some sense to you. So to answer your question about what to do when stress just comes on boom like that's the kind of thing we're like, okay, that's like the epi, right? That's like the immediate, we need to interrupt and regain control of our stress response. So coming out of busy thinking mind and coming back into our body is the thing we want to work on at that moment. And you mentioned one thing, which is what I call your five friends, which are your five senses, right? And so they're available to you at all times. So, bringing your attention to, as you mentioned, things that you smell, you taste, you hear, you see, you feel. And feel meaning the feeling on your skin, maybe it's your clothing or your feet touching the ground. If you're scrubbing in the OR, since you're in the OR, maybe it's the soap, your hands touching the brush that you're using to scrub. And bringing yourself back into your body. So, another way to do that and to decrease the stress response is to focus on two ways that you can utilize your breath to feel calmer. One is to direct your breath lower into your body. When we breathe into our abdomen, I like to call it low and slow breathing, low into your abdomen and breathing slowly. That increases vagal tone. So we want to increase vagal tone, increase the parasympathetic nervous system's function so that it evens out or maybe even becomes a little bit more than what's going on with our stress response. The second way with your breath is to have a longer exhale. We know from our physiology that our exhale breath decreases our heart rate and decreases our blood pressure. So we want to breathe out through this imaginary straw. I call it straw breath, nice and long so that you can decrease your heart rate and decrease your blood pressure. So, focusing on your breath, focusing on the sensations of your body, focus on the language that is happening in your brain. Focus on some phrases or sentences that will serve you in that moment. You know, I can't get through this. It's too much. I'm already late. I'm going to mess up. This is horrible. Why did I do this? Why did I take this position? Blah, blah, blah. And change that around. Like, I get to do this. I can do this. I'm strong enough. I'm courageous enough. Everything's going to work out. It's really okay. There's no real emergency here or whatever it is, right? So changing the language that your brain is offering you in the moment, and just really also your support system. So something that we forget about is that we have other people in our life. And so we can have help from others. There's no ego involved in reaching out and needing another human. Our own Surgeon General earlier this year talked about the nationwide crisis in isolation and loneliness, and that is imperative social connection to our health and well-being. So have some people on your lifeline that if you're trying some of these things or while you're doing these tools, if you need to reach out to somebody and that person serves your greatest good, that person makes you feel strong, grounded, loved, cared for, calm, reach out to them, right? And so
Mhm.
figuring out what things work for you. It could be some mindful movement, right? Sometimes just shifting your weight back and forth, doing things that make you feel calm and grounded and that will bring you back into your body. Those are the peppy types of, your adrenaline, your immediate, I need this now, I need to switch, I need to interrupt and regain control. Now,
Mhm.
the other things that we don't talk about a lot are the things that we need to be doing as our antihistamine, right? Besides mindfulness and trying to be mindful all the time, paying attention on purpose, we need to think about what we're putting in our bodies. Food creates mood. Food creates mood. We know this from medical literature, that there are
Mhm.
certain foods that we eat that cause or increase anxiety, stress, and depression. Things like added sugar. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to share with you. Things like added sugar, things like chemicals that you can't even pronounce, let alone spell, and the ingredients, right? Things like saturated fats, right? And so we want to be very careful about what we're eating, um, being mindful, trying to be as mindful about eating whole foods, as many as possible, and putting as many plants on your plate. I mean, I'm not trying to turn everyone into completely plant-based, but can you be more plant forward? And when people say, well, I don't understand like this processed stuff, what does processed food even mean? It looks healthy to me. I think I'm eating okay. I'm looking at the label and it looks like it has something fruit and veggie in there. So when people say, well, what's processed? I think, okay, well, you have a whole apple, right? That's the whole fruit. Okay. We go from apple to we crush it up and we get some applesauce. It's a little bit processed. We crush it up some more and we get some apple juice. That's more processed. We crush it up some more and we get some apple spice. And then maybe a little bit more and we get like an apple flavored gummy bear. All right. So that's really the continuum. So we want to eat foods that aren't processed as much as possible. And we don't talk about that a lot. And when we're anxious and stressed, we want sugary things. We want things that are fried.
Ah,
We want things that are that are like really like
easy.
fatty and all this, right? Nobody reaches for a piece of celery when they're stressed. But if you could be more mindful of, I don't really need to eat all that stuff from the vending machine right now. It's going to make me feel worse. I mean, no one ever told us this stuff. But the
No.
truth is, well, our food creates our mood. So I just want to bring attention to that. I want to bring attention to the fact that when you don't sleep, that causes you to feel anxious and stressed. And that when you feel anxious and stressed, you're less likely to sleep. So we
Mhm.
need to pay more attention to how much sleep do we really need? What is my magic number? Am I waking up tired? And coming back to that number and recognizing that it's not just on the weekends or on vacation, but getting enough sleep will keep your stress levels down, your anxiety down, moving your body, right? Moving your body. How do you like to move your body? Is it yoga? Is it running? Is it walking? Tai Chi? I don't know, whatever it is, and do more of that. Riding a bike, moving your body helps to keep your stress levels down. So I like to bring attention to that because I frequently get asked, well, I get stressed at work. What should I do? And I say, okay, here are some things that we're going to work on in the moment, but these are the kinds of things you need to do all the time. Be thinking about these other things all the time. And of course, when you do all these things, you'll, and connecting with others, which you mentioned, you'll be less likely to be over drinking, taking drugs, escaping to things that, you shouldn't be doing and don't want to be doing.
And I think it's important to note that, when, as a signal, if you are avoiding moving your body, spending time by yourself, going on a walk, it can be a major sign of stress or even burnout. Because
Yeah.
when a lot of times I'll say, okay, I want you to take 2 10-minute walks today. And, the women I coach are like, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, no, you have time for 10-minute walks. I promise you that you have time. Look at your social media account. Like you probably at least spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day on social media. So I get them to do it, but it's so hard because, and I get it because I've been there. Like there are times when I'm so stressed because I'm overcommitted or things are out of whack. I've totally overcommitted myself that to be alone with myself is the least friendly thing that I want to do because I know that the thoughts will start coming and that I will have to actually face what I have done and that I've overcommitted myself. And so if you find yourself avoiding walking or avoiding exercise or avoiding time alone or avoiding meditating, it might be a signal that you are overcommitted and you are so stressed that you don't want to do it. And that's exactly what we need to do, right? We need to pull back and just do an assessment and take our own pulse and see how we're doing and kind of go into those thoughts and go, what's happening here? Why am I avoiding all of the healthy behaviors? And why am I being drawn to the really unhealthy behaviors, which are different for all of us? So this was so good and so informative and so helpful. And I'm just so thankful for you. I know how busy you are to come on today. Tell our listeners where they can find out more about you, read about you, and all of the programs you offer.
Yeah, well, thank you again. It's an honor, and it's always an honor to chat with you and to be in the ears of your listeners to help them help themselves, which is really what I'm so passionate about. And to find more about me, my website is www.stressfreemd.net. And it's there that you'll find information about the Stress Free MD podcast, which is streaming on your favorite channels. I had the pleasure of having Sasha on as well. Make sure you check out that episode. You can find out about the programs on demand. So, depending on how you like to learn, if you're someone that likes to learn at your own pace and you like on demand programs, there are video programs available to you. I do live coaching 101 in groups. And I have a free chat. And if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to learn some of these tools and I'm just not sure where to get started, I have 4 very short, about 5 minutes each, videos on my website that you can have for free, and just go sign up for them and they'll be coming to you directly into your inbox.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being on. Super appreciate it. Have an amazing day. And as always, if you're listening, remember just to take a deep breath and that you do have the power to assess your stress and change your reaction to stress. And as always, live brave. That was really awesome. And I just thank her for coming on and educating us. It's so important that we evaluate our stress. On that note, this fall, I am going to be hosting the 8th annual Brave Enough Women CME conference in Scottsdale, Arizona at the Omni Monte Lucia, which is an incredible resort at the base of Camelback Mountain. You don't want to miss out. This year, we are doing a special theme, Never Walk Alone. I know so many women in medicine who are leaving medicine, who are struggling in medicine, who feel so isolated about the challenges that they're facing that are specific to women in medicine. And this is a real thing, right? This is not false. This is like legit. So if you know of a woman who has never been to the Brave Enough conference, or you yourself have not been to the Brave Enough conference, this year, if you bring a friend, we're having a special event just for you. And I want you to be there because I'm telling you, it's a life-altering event. It's such a good kind of just a trip, an assessment to really look at your own life and your well-being and where you are in your career, where you are personally, professionally. If you haven't been, this is your year. Don't miss out. Do it. Invest in yourself. Get it on the calendar now. Ask off for now. Get it on your time off and book the trip. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out. Get to the Brave Enough conference. It's unlike any other CME conference. Believe me, I've gone to hundreds of CME conferences, and I continue to put this on despite all of the work and effort it takes because I know it changes lives and I want you to be there. Go to braveenoughconference.com and get your ticket now. Prices go up May 1st. Get your early bird ticket today.